right, we're going to get started with our post-race media availabilities for today's Cheese at 355 at the Glen. We are joined by the driver of the number 34 CSX Play It Safe Ford, Chris Buescher. Chris, why don't you talk a little bit about your team's effort to get your car back out there today?
Yeah, it's really proud of the guys for getting it knocked out. That was unfortunate that I had to get out. Just splitter stuck in the mud over there around the carousel, and just couldn't get it moving. Couldn't get it in reverse. It wouldn't stay in. So basically just had to get out and. They assessed the damage during the red flag, got back in the car, and as soon as the caution came back out, they hustled, got it back fixed up, rolling, and pretty much saved our day. So, I owe a lot to them today. They made sure that we were able to stay in a points hunt. Not the way we want to do it, and we really can't have more days like that if we're going to try and get in that top 30. But, proud of them for their efforts to get it turned around.
All right, we'll open up for questions for Chris. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get the mic to you.
Quiet crowd.
Stan Creekmore with RPMtonight.com. How much more out of this weekend did you get than you thought you might get 6 months ago?
For us, kind of hope we get a lot more than what we did. Watkins Glen is a place that I love to come race at. Ran really well in the Xfinity race here last year. Actually had pretty good speed in the Cup race as well last year before the actual race. We had a trans issue, but before that, I was really happy with the way the weekend went. So I really felt like this was a place we'd be able to capitalize and gain a couple points and probably have a good run. And I think a couple things played against us there, but just went through the bus stop there, and there was just a wall of dirt as everybody ran off. And so as soon as it cleared through it, there was a car sitting there backwards, and just tried to avoid it, and pretty much cost us a handful of spots and decent amount of points. So it's a bummer it worked out the way it did, but I guess the little bit of the silver lining is we did gain a couple points on that 30th position.
I'll go here to the middle and then up to Reed.
Dave Sully, Area Auto Racing News. Could you tell me whether there was any give and take at all today, or was it cutthroat the whole day? It just didn't seem like nobody was giving anybody any quarter. Was that because of the track or the grip, or was it just because was that just hard racing?
Where I was at, there wasn't any give and take, that's for sure. And I think you walk up and down the grid post race here, they're all pretty beat up. So. I think it's just hard racing. Road courses are, they've been getting that way. And I think they've always probably been that way. They're just a lot of beat up race cars, trying to outbrake guys, and, getting into the bus stop is extremely difficult when you're 2-3 wide. And back there where we were at restarting in the 20s, you go in the bus stops, everybody's jammed up going through the S's, and they fan out trying to get in the bus stop thinking that's their best place to pass. And you find yourselves 3 wide, and it's hard enough to go 2 wide through there. So I think that's where some of the carnage comes from.
We'll go to Reed and then over to the side.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire. Was there confusion about whether you had to stay in the car or had to get out of the car? It seemed like there were different opinions on the radio.
Yeah, I was just trying, from where I was, we barely caught the wall on the inside there. Basically just the splitter hooked up in the mud, and I know when I ran off course trying to avoid the Ford, it swung all kinds of grass over the car, and I knew what the issue was, so I was just trying to get them to push. And we're sitting downhill, splitters caked up under mud. It actually broke it loose, so it was pretty packed. And I guess my hope was just that we could be pushed backwards, and they don't have any straps or anything to be able to hook to the back, so basically they're just depending on being able to push the back bumper to get you moving, and we obviously didn't have that opportunity. So I get it. I mean, I get why they made me get out, but I was just really frustrated and trying really hard to stay in it so that we could keep rolling without losing any spots.
We'll take our final question for Chris.
Hi, George Webster, Ignition Magazine. Now that you're in a position of potentially being in the chase, unlike your sort of semi-colleagues at Roush. Are you expecting more assistance from Roush or from Ford to try to help you improve your results for the rest of the season?
You know, I think we've been working towards that way anyway. I mean, we've been trying to basically get as close as we can to the Roush teams over there at Front Row Motorsports. So they've been working extremely hard to put good cars on the racetrack, and you know, I feel like we can lean on them a little bit more, try and get a little bit better information, you know, parts and pieces. If we can get you know, as good stuff as possible to try and get to that top 30, I think it's reasonable. You know, we're gonna have to see how everything plays out here in the next couple of hours. Probably it's going to be a quick turnaround, and at the end of the day, we did gain a couple points. Only on the 30th position. I know we lost on the 29th, and that puts us in a really small bubble. So we got to do a good job these next few. You know, take the off weekend, go visit the family out in Texas, come back regrouped, and be ready to go to Bristol. We're pretty good there last time, and Front Row Motorsports bring some good cars to that track. Me and Landon both were happy with the speed of our cars, so I feel like that'll be a place we can go gain some points and maybe put a little bit of a cushion on that chase bubble right there for us.
All right, Chris. Well, thanks for joining us this evening, and enjoy the off week at home.
Will do. Thank you.
We will continue with our post-race media availabilities for today's Cheese at 355 at the Glen. We are joined by our second place finisher, Joey Logano, the driver of the number 22 Shell Pennzoil Ford. Joey, why don't you take us through that final lap there?
The final lap or the final 15? It was crazy any way you look at it. Typical Watkins Glen, man, it's just awesome. Crazy racing, full contact, just insane out there. So a lot of fun from the driver's seat, and I'm sure the fans today loved it as well, in front of a sold-out grandstand. So it's pretty cool when I pulled over for the red flag in front of the grandstands, and I can hear just fans screaming and yelling and loving it. And I thought, man, this is really cool to be in the driver's seat right now. And I don't know, I had one of those moments I thought it was neat. But overall, our car was really good today. Driver shot himself in the foot a little bit with getting some damage on the bus stop when we were working way back through the field, and ripped the splitter up, and then that was kind of the beginning of the end. Really hurt our race car through the fast parts of the racetrack, so through the S's, carousel, a little bit of 11. Didn't really hurt us in the bus stop any, and that's where we were the fastest car. But we got ourselves in position to win the race. But I didn't have the speed in the race car to make it happen. So, and it wasn't anyone's fault but mine. So, a little mad at that. We got so close to that sweep again here at Watkins Glen, winning yesterday, and getting second today. So, just so close. Just wish I could take one corner back the whole race, and we'd been probably sitting in victory lane right now. I thought we were faster in the 11 through the parts that we needed to be early in the race to be able to beat them. So unfortunately, we're sitting here second, but not awful considering what our car looked like.
All right, we'll now open up to questions for Joey. Please raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you. Up here.
Hi, Joey. Tyler Head from the Racing Experts. We're seeing a couple of other drivers, your teammate Brad and also A.J. Allmendinger, beating themselves up about contact in the last corner on the last lap with people that they didn't really want to hit at that point. Can you think of a time in your career where you've been in that position and had to try to make amends?
That's funny you ask me. Duh. Yeah, there's been plenty of times where it's aggressive racing, and sometimes you're on the other end of it. Last week I was on the other end of it, and to me, the protocol is show some respect the next few weeks and hope the dust settles. That's pretty much what you can do. There's accidents happen. We're pushing these things so hard. We're trying to stop from 180 to 70 or 80 miles an hour. We're cutting off like 100 miles an hour going into the bus stop. And we're trying to do that too wide where there's only one lane through there. Someone's going to hit somebody. Someone's feelings are going to get hurt. And it depends how understanding the other individual is. You know, and sometimes you can look at it and say, hey, it's a racing thing, and next few weeks just give me room, unless it's going to become something bigger than what it needs to be. You know, and you know, each situation probably needs to be handled differently, depending on who you're dealing with. But yeah, I've dealt with it plenty of times. Just seems like, yeah, I think I'm doing okay the last few weeks. I think I didn't make anyone mad today, I don't believe. So, hey, there's a little victory.
Question in the middle.
Joey, it was obvious that the problem area for 2 days was the bus stop and the dust. Would you recommend that they do something about that? I don't know what they could do to eliminate that. You're going to make it straight. I mean, that's but each time somebody did it, I mean, splitters are coming off. They're plowing. Now the guys behind you are going all over the place. I don't know if it's asking if it's fair, but do you think maybe there's something they could do, or do you think that's just leave it that way and know that it's going to happen and deal with it?
I think it's great. It's part of it, you know. That's what makes it so interesting. You can't make the racetrack to where it's just too easy to get around and you can make mistakes and not pay a penalty. Then everyone's going to go straight through it all the time, you know. Or you don't want it to make it to where you got to make a stop and go and make it a judgment call on NASCAR's part. You know, if it's all paved and you put your left sides too far off on the other side of the curb and you got to make a stop and go. Just leave it the way it is. Let us handle it ourselves. It becomes crazy because you don't know what it's like until you get there if dirt's on the racetrack. And yesterday was a great example for me. I was leading the race and, you know, I went in a corner into a bus stop and it was like dirt everywhere. And it was like a dirt track and I went sliding off the track because of it. But it keeps it interesting. It changes things up. I don't know. I don't want to make it, you don't want to make it too boring, you know, make it just idiot-proof out there. You want to make it to where there's a penalty for mistakes and not make it to where NASCAR has to make judgment calls. That's not what we want to make.
We'll go to Zach.
Zach at Hands-Ready Front Stretch. Describe what it looks like when you go through dirt. I mean, are you really almost blind going through there, or do you have to kind of remember where you are on the track, maybe look at the car in front of you? How bad does the visual get?
Well, if you see dirt or smoke, and a fine example is what the 2-car was going through in the last corner there, you know, as a 78 was sideways, he couldn't see. And there's no visuals because you can't see 2 feet in front of you. You know, you can't even see the hood of your car. So it's like, where am I? And you see that constantly every week. If someone crashes in front of somebody and it's just you get in a cloud of smoke and you see nothing. You know, you thought the fog in Pocono was bad. It's a lot worse than that. And that's just, you know, it's a product of, you know, just racing in general. I mean, these things get sideways, they put a hell of a smoke show up, and that's what they get. Or dirt, yeah, you can't see, and you kind of go off memory of where you last could see and try to drive through it and hope no one's on the other side of it.
Go to Jerry.
Jerry Jordan, Former Station Network, Kicking the Tires. Let's go back to you ticking people off.
Oh, great, thanks, yeah. Come on, now you're trying to get me to tick someone off.
When you do, or they do it to you, does it really matter that they come over and say, hey, I'm sorry, my bad?
Yes, it definitely does. You know, I mean, it's owning your mistakes or whatever it was. If it wasn't a mistake, don't say anything. But, you know, I think owning it is super important. And a lot of times in these things, too, it's kind of funny. It kind of strikes a conversation and somewhat kind of strikes a relationship that maybe you didn't have with that particular driver. And not saying that it's like automatic we're friends, but sometimes you let it go a year and you find yourself racing cleaner with each other than you did before. Or cleaner with anybody else than anyone else. It just kind of, you got to treat it with kids' gloves because it's a fragile situation on both ends. You know, and I think part of it too is everyone's looking to try to, okay, what can I get out of it? You ruined my day. What are you going to do for me? You know, and that's rightfully so for the other individual. What are you gonna? How are you gonna make this up to me? You know, it's probably the common question that if you're sitting on the bad end of it is the question you ask is, how do I get this back?
Go to Holly.
Holly Keane, NASCAR.com. Kind of along those lines, Is a sorry always enough?
No, usually not. No, it's well, actions speak louder than words, right? So, you know, it's just like any other situation. If you have a conflict with another media individual in here, saying you're sorry is one thing. Maybe you take them to dinner. I don't know. That's, you know, I think there's different things you can do. Really, the biggest thing is just show some respect out there on the racetrack. Maybe let someone go, make their life easy for the next few weeks until the dust settles. That's basically what you can do. You know, talk is cheap, basically. You know, and it's I guess it's admirable of someone to come up and own their mistake, but like I said, talk is cheap as well. You know, you gotta if you want to talk the talk, you gotta walk the walk with it.
Come back up here to the front.
SpencerMotorsport.com. Were you kind of blown away by all the penalties? It just seemed there was a rash of speeding penalties, and your team, every team, got on the radio when it first started and said, slow down, slow down. Still, you know, even the warnings weren't enough to save some of you guys on pit road.
Yeah, the way we calculate our pit road, something was off. You know, and I'm not blaming this on NASCAR in no way possible. This is something that the teams did not get the correct information or missed something within the information of the rollout of the tire, in my opinion. You know, typically we're able to calculate this and put it into our dashes of how fast we need to go. And for me, it's how many green lights. For some people, it might be yellows or reds, whatever color they want, I guess. And you know, for me, I felt like, hey, I went down pit road like I did every other time. I should have a good rolling time. Shouldn't be a problem. And, you know, and then you hear you get busted and you're like, huh. You know, and it's always the constant thing everyone always says after it. There's no way, right? That's what everyone always says. But, you know, I think when there's that many cars that get penalized, there's something that, you know, that the teams missed. And I doubt that everybody made a mistake. These race teams are way too smart for everyone to make one mistake like that. There's some kind of missing link in the data or something that they were calculating with that put us over. Thanks.
All right, Joey. Well, thanks for joining us. Congratulations on the great weekend here at the Glen.
Great. Thanks, guys.